So you contested the party's presidential polls, saying the elections will revitalize the party. Have the presidential polls, along with the Bharat Jodo Yatra, revitalized the party and brought it back into serious reckoning for 2024?
I believe so. I mean, I think that certainly when the Congress president saw me after the election, she said that she felt that the elections had strengthened the party. And subsequently, we've seen that the public reaction to the Bharat Jodo Yatra, especially during the culmination in Kashmir, was far, far greater than anybody, whether our admirers or our critics, had anticipated. And the sense is not only that it has completely transformed Rahul Gandhi's image and thereby the Congress parties, but it has given a new self-belief to the Congress workers. And that certainly will contribute in a significant way to revitalizing the party for the challenges that lie ahead.
Sir, the all-important plenary session is coming up in Raipur. What are your expectations from it, and what are the key issues that the party needs to tackle there?
Well, it seems to me that, in fact, we are looking at an inflection point in the history of the party. It comes between on the one hand, the presidential election and the Bharat Jodo Yatra, and subsequently, of course, the 2024 elections are looming in front of us. And therefore, for us to be able to actually have a plenary at this time couldn't have been more opportune. It gives an opportunity to take stock, and it gives the party members an opportunity to focus both on what we have gained and what faces us as we look at the challenges of the future.
So do you think it's absolutely essential for the party to have the CWC polls at the plenary? Have you raised this issue with the party leadership?
No, look, I had made the point that elections are healthy for the party. I participated in one election myself. And now that I've lost, I don't think it's my business to tell the party leadership what to do. Let them take the steps that they judge are appropriate. Obviously, the majority view in the AICC is the view that will prevail. And I'm fairly confident that if a majority of the delegates want an election, they'll hold one. And if a majority feel that they would rather not rock the boat at this time and they would rather just move ahead, then that too will be a possible option. I just feel that by having contested once, making my point and not winning the majority, or not even close to the majority of the delegates, I have sort of, in a sense, forfeited the right to keep demanding the same thing. I'm stepping back a little bit from that demand, not because I withdraw my words. No, I think elections are good for the party, but because I've made my point, and now it's for those who have won the election and those who are in charge of the party's fortunes to decide, in consultation with the majority of the members, what is the right thing to do for the party at this time.
So, but your view remains the same? You think that it will strengthen the party?
I don't want to add to what I've said, Asim. My own view very simply is that as far as the principle is concerned, and as I demonstrated during the presidential elections, an election can have a very useful contribution to make in galvanizing the party. If, on the other hand, the majority of the party believes otherwise or prefers otherwise, then it is not my place to substitute my wishes or my preferences for the wishes of the majority. That's fully understood.
So if the CWC polls do take place and the party majority decides to have an election, would you contest these polls?
At this point, I'm not considering any further election. I think I've done my bit. I've made my point. I think now it's for others to step forward if they feel that that's the way forward.
So is having free and fair CWC critical to complete the cycle started by you with the presidential polls?
Look, I think that this is an issue we've talked around in 3 or 4 different ways, so I'm not going to keep repeating myself. I think that the party has to move forward. The party has to rejuvenate itself, revive some of the dormant organs within it, and has to build on the new self-belief and the new levels of energy that were apparent as the Bharat Jodo Yatra reached its climax.
So recently it was reported that 3 leaders from Kerala met the president and backed your nomination to the CWC. Are you expecting a nomination to the CWC?
I was not present for that. I don't know exactly what was said, and I don't know what the president's view is on that matter. So I will stay quiet. I think it's best only to comment on things you actually know something about.
But are you personally expecting a nomination?
I don't think it's for any of us to expect or not expect. Certainly, as you know, I've spent almost 14 and a half years in the party, and so far the issue has not arisen.
So you met the President, Mr. Kharge, recently. You tweeted about it also. Was the plenary and efforts to revitalize the party discussed?
It was principally a meeting about the All India Professionals Congress, because the All India Professionals Congress is a body that I helped establish 5 years ago with Rahul Gandhi's blessing, and under the terms of the Udaipur Chintan Shivir, I felt it appropriate that I turn in my resignation when the 5-year mark was reached at the beginning of August. At that time, the then Congress president urged me to continue until the new president was elected. When the new president was elected, I raised the issue. He said, not right now, we've got so much else to focus on. And then finally, it was time to produce a 5-year report for the plenary. And so I went to present it to him and to seek his intentions as to whether the current leadership team, in fact, 3 of us have already done 5 years, 3 of the 5 of the top 5 in the Professionals Congress, and he again said, continue for the moment. Let's make some decisions after the plenary, when I believe he's going to take a larger look at the overall organization of the party. So it was principally a discussion of the Professionals Congress, but inevitably, as colleagues who have worked together in Parliament when he was leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, as colleagues who have a shared interest in seeing an effective opposition to those who are ruling us today, our conversation did go beyond that as well.
So there have been suggestions in certain quarters, also by political observers in the media, that you have been sidelined by the party after you contested the presidential polls. Did at any point of time you feel marginalized?
Look, my roles so far in politics have been fairly clear. I'm the MP for Thiruvananthapuram, which is an important responsibility that I seek to fulfill every day. I am at the same time a parliamentarian who is available to the party to be used on whatever issues and debates they want me to speak on. I am at the same time chairman of the All India Professionals Congress, and in addition I happen to chair a parliamentary standing committee. Those have been my portfolios for a few years now, and they continue to remain so. There's been no change for the better or for the worse since the party presidential election.
So, just a last few questions. So, there were a lot of comments made against you in Kerala when you went on an outreach spree. There were also suggestions that you have chief ministerial ambitions. Do you see yourself taking a full-time state politics, or you plan to remain in the national scene? I
haven't made any decisions of this nature. I accepted some speaking invitations, and those generated a huge buzz, far more than I thought was warranted. And certainly, given the interest of the media in my travels and my speeches and what I had to say and who I was meeting, it became a bigger story than it needed to be. In fact, I never said anything about state politics or the chief ministership, but I kept repeatedly being asked. And when I said that I'm prepared to take any responsibility the party entrusts to me, and I pointed out that whatever responsibility the party has given me in the last 14 years, I have fulfilled to the best of my ability, they said, does that mean you'd be willing to be chief minister? Are you prepared to be chief minister? I said, listen, if that's offered, obviously I feel that this is something I could take on, but I'm not sitting around here campaigning for a job that isn't open for 3.5 years. And I stressed that we have a chief minister in Kerala. He has a comfortable majority. We are in the opposition. The question is completely theoretical.
So, you have been named in the panels for the preparation for the Raipur convention. So now you are there in the drafting committee, you're also there in the foreign affairs. So how do you look at that opportunity, and what are the key issues that you would like to deal with?
Well, you know, the foreign affairs panel is of some importance to us because the Congress has always been a natural party of governance and has always had a responsible view of India's place in the world. In fact, I chaired the Foreign Affairs Committee for 5 years in Parliament, and I always took the view that ultimately there is no BJP foreign policy and Congress foreign policy, there is only India's foreign policy. Unfortunately, the BJP doesn't seem to see things in the same way as we do, and certainly there's been a divergence on a couple of crucial issues, notably, for example, on China. And I think it'll be healthy for the Congress to discuss this in Raipur and for the Congress to take a clear stand on our place in the world. Certainly, as the convener of that Foreign Affairs panel, I will be playing a role in that, and I've already had a discussion with the chairman of the panel, Salman Khurshid, and a couple of its members, and we look forward to a good discussion on foreign affairs in Raipur.
So, my final question to you is, what is the best way forward for the Congress from here on as it navigates the road to 2024? Do you think it still has to be the fulcrum of any opposition alliance to take on the BJP? Look,
de facto, it's the only party other than the BJP with a national presence. Arguably, we have a stronger national presence in some parts of India than the BJP has. My own state, Tamil Nadu, I think there's no question that the Congress is a party with a national footprint, a historic legacy, and a presence pretty much everywhere, and therefore, inevitably, it has to figure in any calculations of an opposition front or an opposition government in due course. I think that the main lesson here, of course, that we've seen from the last two elections, which the BJP won with 31% and 37% respectively, is that the divided opposition plays into the BJP's hands. Whether that means we should do our very best to achieve a pre-poll alliance, whether it is simply enough to choose our seats wisely so that as far as possible the strongest opposition candidate gets a clear run against a BJP rival, and whether we can leave the final settlement to after an election result. All of that at the moment is not within my realm of responsibility. But all I can say is that if the opposition, by and large, coalesces around one candidate in every constituency, I think the BJP is going to face a very tough time in 2024. Don't forget there have been some very significant material changes in the country. Bihar is a very good example of how much has changed since the BJP won a record number of seats with its ally in 2019, who is no longer its ally. And similarly, there are other states in which the BJP either had a clean sweep or won all but one seat in the state. I don't think that pattern will replicate itself so easily in 24. There is inevitably some anti-incumbency in the country, and the BJP may well be ruining in 24 the fact that it succeeded so much in 2019 that there were practically no gains left for it to make in the country. So I think it's going to be an exciting election. I do not agree with those who've written off the opposition's prospects in 24.
So just a pointed question too, because you raised that. So you are completely ruling out contesting CWC polls if they take place?
Look, at this stage there are no polls announced, so there's no question. There's no question, therefore, am I making a decision. If at all they're announced, my instinct is that I have already done my contesting, as it were, and that I should leave it to others. But certainly I'll talk to a number of colleagues in the party if there are polls announced and there are colleagues who want to come forward, and we will see what's in the best interests of the party. Ultimately, all these exercises are only to strengthen the party. We don't want to weaken the party at a time when elections are 1 year away. We want to strengthen it. And we'll do whatever is best to strengthen the party, including choosing not to fight a poll if that's the sentiment of those who care about the future of the party.